Hello everyone and welcome back to Animation Pilgrimage, where we watch every single theatrically released animated film in order. But today we're not looking at a film at all. In fact, we're looking at the television shows of the 1950s.
Yes. We've only got two to look at for this decade. Not saying that there were only two television shows in this period. There were actually a surprising amount.
Yeah.
But we're only taking a look at two of them, and those two would be Crusader Rabbit and the Huckleberry Hound Show.
And Crusader Rabbit actually wasn't from the 1950s, was it?
Well, there's conflicting information on that.
Oh, okay.
So, some sources say that it debuted in October of 1949, and other sources say that that's wrong, and it actually debuted in some point, I think, like early of the year, or spring, 1950.
Okay.
So either way,
It's
like
close enough.
right at the start of the decade, doesn't matter. The point is that this is the first quote-unquote animated TV show on television.
Quote-unquote TV show.
Yeah. And the second one we're going to be talking about is the Huckleberry Hound Show. But
Which had many segments.
Yes, which had many segments dedicated to different characters. So let's talk about Crusader Rabbit first.
Okay.
Crusader Rabbit is a very, very simple show, and the only reason we're covering it is because it was the first one on television.
I doubt many people even know this exists.
Yeah, probably. It's interesting, though, I'll give it that. I do like what they do with the very limited resources they have.
Yeah, because just as we're probably showing you, there's not really much animation per se. At best, there's like paper cutouts and they move it around a little bit, or if there is animation, it's like 2 frames.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's essentially storyboards. They're narrated storyboards. And that's kind of cool. Like, I would still be down for if a TV show or something like that wanted to go stylistically something like this. I don't want to see it this simple, but...
Where it's practically just storyboards?
Yeah, I mean, I like storyboards. I like... You know, on YouTube nowadays, you get a lot of animators who do PMVs, where, you know, they move a cutout of their character across screen and then do some fancy editing on top of that, and maybe a little bit of, you know,
so pretty much this.
a camera movement. Yeah, I mean, they make it look better than this, but...
Okay.
But I think stylistically...
It's an interesting choice.
This idea could come back in a cool way, and it has online, but it hasn't for a TV show or anything like that, because, you know, I think a lot of audiences would look at this and immediately think this is cheap, which it is, but there's a lot of things that are cheap that are good. Like, just because you throw money at something doesn't automatically make it better, you know?
Indeed. But either way, the plot, per se, of this show is it follows Crusader Rabbit, who's just a small rabbit, and he goes on adventures. And it takes him many, 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 many 4 to 5 minute episodes to get anything done.
Yeah, so each of these episodes are 4 minutes long. We watched 2 of them.
Yeah, we only watched 2 because we got the gist of what was going to happen after that. And there's like 700 episodes. One thing we should really point out for these TV show episodes about Animation Pilgrimage, we're not watching all the episodes. We do not have the time, effort, money, resources to do that. It's just not possible. And again, we're focusing mainly on the theatrically released movies on this journey. So we're just getting like a taste of what TV's doing at the time.
Right. So that might make you ask, well, why are you bothering covering TV at all? Because I think it's important
to know what's going on at the same time.
Exactly, because Animation Pilgrimage is also celebrating the history of animation. And the history of animation is not always built by the studios spending thousands upon millions of dollars
on single movies.
The history of animation is built upon small works as well, like TV. And limited animation in this decade is super important to the future of animation.
It is the cornerstone of TV animation for years.
Absolutely everything. And yeah, Crusader Rabbit is like the cheapest example of that, but it's what got this ball rolling.
And like just watching these first couple episodes, it's very simple, but there's a few things that were like, okay, that's pretty amusing. I enjoy what they're doing with this. It's
there's a cartoony rabbit. I guess we haven't really talked about what it is at all. Crusader Rabbit is a cartoony little rabbit who's often fighting
things.
In this particular, we were watching his first episode, which is like Crusader Rabbit versus the state of Texas.
Yeah, it's like this seems the first 15 episodes are just the story of him getting to Texas and then fighting the Texans who are chasing jackrabbits out of Texas, and he's fighting back against them.
Yeah, because his cousins are jackrabbits.
And the most poignant part of this show is the fact that it always leaves on a cliffhanger. Like every single episode is a cliffhanger. Gotta tune in next time to find out what happens next, which itself was a parody of other shows that were doing that at the time.
Well, yeah, but it just makes me think of course, because, like, how could this not make me think of it? It makes me think of 101 Dalmatians when they're watching Thunderbolt.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that
TV
that
show,
is
which is
also
obviously parodying like something like this.
Well, it's either parodying Crusader Rabbit or whatever Crusader Rabbit is also parodying.
Yeah.
Which is just shows at the time like, what gonna happen? You tune in next time to know.
Yeah.
And we all know the joke.
Yeah.
Like, we know that joke. We've heard it 1,000 times, and I mean, that being said, if you look at TV shows that we grew up on, a lot of anime really liked doing this in like the 90s and 2000s.
Oh yeah.
I mean
cliffhanger endings are classic. Like that's such an easy way to, even if you have like nothing in terms of content or even like an actual resolution to your cliffhanger, ending on a cliffhanger has always been a super popular thing to do.
Will they eat the sandwich? Find out next time! Stuff like that.
Get to the next episode, they've already eaten the sandwich.
Oh, they ate the sandwich off screen.
Don't worry about it!
Moving on. Actual things are happening now. So, that's Crusader Rabbit.
Oh, there's also Tugs the Tiger.
Yeah, it's like his sidekick.
Yeah, who's a dopey tiger. I mean, dopey characters are really popular this decade.
Yeah, as in...
That's pretty much all of them.
Pretty much all of them, especially on the next show we're talking about, which I think is a good segue to...
Yeah, I think we're just going to jump into that. Huckleberry Hound.
So, have y'all heard of Hanna-Barbera?
I mean, you should have. We've talked about them a couple different times on this show now.
But this is where they get their real start.
And this is not their first foray into TV.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They also had the Rough and Ready show.
Okay.
And then Rough and Ready show, I guess, didn't do all that well. I don't know. TV is weird at the beginning of TV history.
Okay.
But they, I guess, jumped ship from the Rough and Ready show and moved on to the Huckleberry Hound show. And a lot of assets from the Rough and Ready show are reused.
I mean,
such as voice actors, ideas,
character design. Because that's one thing. Okay.
Take Huckleberry Hound, for instance. His voice actor and the voice that he uses is the exact same as a character that was done in the Rough and Ready show, who was also like a dog.
Well, okay then.
Yeah.
I guess one thing we should point out is the Huckleberry Hound show is episodic bits of various different characters that all do things. So we got the Huckleberry Hound segment, which follows Huckleberry Hound, the blue dog, who is in scenarios.
Usually a detective.
Usually detective? Okay.
Yeah.
Like the one or two we watched, he was not a detective. He was
a police officer.
He was a police officer, and then he was a sheep herder.
Mm-hmm. But he's usually some kind of, like...
Authority figure?
Authority, yeah.
Okay. Watched not Tom and Jerry.
Yeah.
Which was...
Minx, Binks, and Jinx, and Mr. Jinx?
Mr. Jinx, for sure.
Is the cat.
Yeah, and there's two mice who are also very similarly named, and it's totally okay if you get them confused, because they all look the exact same anyways.
Yeah.
But it's essentially talking Tom and Jerry.
Oh, yeah. They just
Except
rebooted...
with two mice.
Yeah, they rebooted Tom and Jerry, and...
The cat versus mice concept is not one that is done to death. Not at all.
No, nope. Not at all.
Never gonna run out of that idea. And the last one...
Which is the most important to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Yogi Bear.
Yogi Bear. Hey, hey, hey.
It's me, Yogi Bear.
Time to steal some picnic baskets, but we don't actually do that in the show yet.
I'm smarter than an average bear.
Okay, so...
what do you know about Yogi Bear?
I know that Yogi Bear is a bear that lives in Jellystone parks, and he has many campsites all across the USA now.
Yes, he does. I went to Jellystone campsite parks a lot growing up.
Past that, he's got like a companion bear who is just a smaller, paler version of himself, who's his wisecracking sidekick, even though he's a wisecracking guy anyways.
He actually plays more, like, Boo Boo's more the straight man.
Okay. Past that, he steals picnic baskets and messes with the park ranger. But all of that being said, none of that really came out in these first few shorts that we watched, and I'm assuming that at some point, well, I know for a fact that at some point he is no longer part of the Huckleberry Hound show and gets his own show, and I'm wondering that's when a lot of these character changes happen. Because these first couple, he's just like wandering around and trying to get out of the park.
Yeah, the first episode we watched was Yogi Bear's first episode, which was Yogi's Big Break. And Yogi is trying to escape Jellystone Park for some reason. I don't know. I guess he just decided he doesn't like being in an animal preserve anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Which is ironic because then, of course, at the end of the episode, it's
he gets out and it's bear hunting season.
Oh, it's bear hunting season, and so then Yogi's trying to get back in. And then the other episode we watched was Yogi.
I don't know. He's
something about
TV
him,
show.
Something about him wanting to be a big star. And there's a film producer at...
Like Yogi's Big Break? Is that what it was called?
No, that was the first one we watched.
Oh.
I just said it.
Sorry.
That's why it sounded familiar, honey.
Yeah, probably. You'll have to excuse me, because I just want to put this out there. This show is fine, but nothing happens.
I mean, this is the start of television. Like, the concepts are all real basic.
Super basic concept, super basic comedy.
And you also got to remember,
animation.
Like, if you thought the shorts, the theatrical shorts, were limited because of, like, how many they produced and how little time they had to do it.
Oh, yeah, they had...
TV's, like, 10 times worse.
It's like, they don't have any time to produce this show and get it built and animated and onto the TV.
Yeah, like,
so it's understandable.
It's pointless to critique it on, like, they really should have spent more time on this because they couldn't. Like, they didn't have the time.
Literally did not have the time
or money.
Or budget.
Yeah. So, you know, all of these shows, well, Huckleberry Hound, you know, every single one of these segments is a character who's basically the body is cut out, and then the head has a couple of frames of animation, and most of these characters wear some kind of necktie or scarf or something.
To separate the head from the body so they can easily have those as two different pieces where the head can move and the body doesn't, or vice versa.
And it doesn't look off because you can see the line.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which is why they all have a collar, even if they don't wear a shirt.
Yep. I mean, it's a smart design choice.
Oh, yeah, it's incredibly smart for animation purposes.
Yeah.
With the super limited animation.
And I gotta say, as far as, Hanna-Barbera stealing UPA's style and all that, they actually do a really great job with the character designs. I do enjoy Hanna-Barbera's character designs quite a bit. They don't really... To compare them to, our sensibilities nowadays, they're pretty lacking. But I think for the time and what we've seen up to this point, I think they're, pretty interesting stylistically.
Okay.
They kind of marry the Warner Brothers style and the UPA style. And they make it work for what they need to do.
Yes. Counterpoint.
Yeah.
Every single character on this show is literally the same animal, or the general same shape, but you just slap a specific creature type, such as a bear, fox, wolf, dog, give it some sort of neckerchief. Wow, I said neckerchief. Woof.
It's alright, we're covering the 50s, it's allowed.
Alright. Some sort of neck apparatus.
Yes.
And give them a funny voice.
Oh,
And that is every single character.
I am not trying to defend the low production, quality of this. And, I don't really think that there is a whole lot of merit to going back and watching these. Unless it's your jam. I mean, no judgment from me, but this is not something I'm going to be recommending to people going, this is a hidden masterpiece.
No. It's you can watch 1 or 2 episodes and you got the whole show.
Right. I'm more so appreciating their smart business sense and saying that they made it work for what little they had.
Oh, yeah. I completely understand.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you don't know Hanna-Barbera and you just look at a lineup of their characters, you won't be able to tell them apart.
Oh, yeah, no.
It's I only know Yogi Bear because Yogi Bear is
super iconic.
Unfathomably popular for some reason.
Mm-hmm. So, do you know anything else, why Yogi Bear is the way he is?
Why he talks like he does?
Why his name is Yogi Bear?
Nope.
Okay.
I don't. I really don't.
So Hanna-Barbera's shtick and why a lot of people found these characters funny at the time is because...
they're parodies?
They're parodies on other actors. So Huckleberry Hound, his voice is based on, an impression of somebody else.
Well, see here, this is Huckleberry Hound.
Yeah. Yogi Bear's is based on an actor from The Honeymooners.
Okay.
But his name is Yogi Bear because he's based off of the famous person Yogi Berra, who I don't know who that is.
Actually, that name sounds incredibly familiar. Wasn't it a baseball player?
Probably, but either way, Yogi Berra was a household name at the time, so then Hanna-Barbera came out with a show called Yogi Bear.
Of course.
Yeah.
All right.
It's a joke that, doesn't really make much sense nowadays because most people know who Yogi Bear is before Yogi Berra, so...
I mean, you should probably put on screen who Yogi Berra actually was.
I will, because, I'll just admit ignorance here. I have no idea who this person is. I've heard their name before, but mostly by just...
The fact that they're related to Yogi Bear in the sense that he was named after him.
Exactly. So... Before we started this episode, I actually wanted to look something up.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember Humphrey the Bear?
Humphrey the Bear. That sounds like a Disney character?
Uh-huh. You put it in the bag, bump, bump.
Oh, yes, okay, yes.
Okay.
All right, yep. Mm-hmm.
We haven't covered Humphrey the Bear yet.
No, but he was in shorts.
Yes, he was.
Was that before now?
It was.
How much before now?
So, I always thought Humphrey the Bear was a ripoff of Yogi Bear. Because Yogi Bear was really popular.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the case.
Did this come out a year before?
So Humphrey the Bear is a Disney character. He's not very popular, which is why we haven't covered him at all. But his exploits started in 1950.
Oh, 1950. Wow, okay.
Yeah, so he started this decade, and then, and his whole shtick is that he's like a narcotic bear who also is a park ranger who...
Narcotic?
Am I using the right term?
Narcotic is drugs.
Oh.
Neuronic?
I don't know.
Quirky?
Yes.
That's neuronic. Or something much more like that. Not narcotic. Narcotic means he's a drugged up bear.
Okay, well
Don't do drugs, kids.
He is a very nervous, quirky bear. We'll go with that.
There, yeah, let's use those words, because it's not narcotic.
Okay. My bad. Anyway. He and his park ranger are always, like, fighting and getting in trouble. And yeah, there was only a few shorts with him. He was a pretty popular character, though, for the time he was out. The In the Bag short and...
is about recycling or trash cleanup or something.
Yeah, cleaning up the park. And then there's, like, a couple of other Humphrey the Bear shorts. But those came out in, like, 1955 and 1966.
Okay.
And Huckleberry Hound Show didn't start until 1958.
Well, okay then.
So, I think it's safe to say that, like, pretty much everything about the Huckleberry Hound Show is a recycled idea from something else.
A recycled idea or a direct ripoff or parody of something popular at the time. Mm-hmm. Which is not bad. It just means that nowadays we don't get a lot of that comedy of the parody aspect.
Oh yeah, like a lot of this comedy is lost to time because, I mean, to put it bluntly, it's disposable TV.
Mm-hmm. Like, it's literally just there for people to watch once, get enjoyment out of it, and give them the revenue money of watching it in the first place.
Right.
And then move on.
And don't get me wrong, I know there might be a couple of people who think, like, I'm bringing up Humphrey the Bear to, like, boost Disney's ego or something like that, because it's pretty obvious, like, I'm a pretty big fan of Disney.
What?
But I mostly just bring it up because I legitimately thought that Humphrey the Bear was a ripoff of Yogi Bear, and Disney just trying to cash in on something that was popular at the time.
But no, it seems
But it was actually the other way around, and I thought that was interesting, and I thought I would share.
That is an interesting point.
Mm-hmm. And I honestly don't care about companies ripping each other off 90% of the time. I think recycling ideas and making them your own thing is a fine thing to do. And I think there should be less of a stigma around that.
Okay. It's just when you're actively taking that and only using it to make fun of or point fingers at the original concept,
then it bothers me.
That's when it's bothersome.
Yeah. And there's not much else to say about this. I think we're going to keep it a pretty short episode because...
Again, it's like
it's TV. It's early TV.
You see one or two episodes, and that's all you need.
Mm-hmm.
Again, there's like a whole list of other shows that were out at this time, but no one remembers them, I'm sure.
Well,
and I don't even know if we'd be able to find a lot of them.
People remember them, but it's going to be a lot of this kind of thing.
Yeah, and Hanna-Barbera was the most popular creators at this time.
There is one show that technically starts this decade that I debated on us covering today, and it was the Rocky and Bullwinkle show, which technically starts in 1959.
But it's right at the end.
But in my head, Rocky and Bullwinkle is such a 60s icon that it didn't seem right covering them here.
Okay. I mean, that's fair.
So we will be covering Rocky and Bullwinkle for those of you who may have been wondering, but it's going to be next time we cover TV episodes.
Okay.
Yeah. So with that being said, that's going to be all from us. Join us back here next time when we finally wrap this decade up.
It's been a while, but hey, we finished it up. So join us back here next time for the Lizard and Cat Award, like animated award show. Huzzah! What did I call it exactly last time? I actually have it pulled up right here. I want to find out. So, the Lizard and Cat Animation Awards! Huzzah!
All right, see you back here next time.
Bye-bye, Jinxie.
Excuse me, sir. I don't believe we met yet. Don't you recognize me, Huck? Not under that disguise, Yogi. You knew, didn't you? Why, sure. You're one of the stars of the show. And the same goes for you, too. Aw, shucks, folks. Everybody's a star on the Huckleberry Hound Show. So let's go!